Hi YouTube! One of my family friends has a kid who's graduating high school, and I somehow got invited to her graduation party. Graduating high school is a big deal, and it calls for a gift that is also a big deal. And what better way to do this than gift her a handmade punch-needled rug? But I had one problem. I didn't really know her that well, so I had no clue where to get started. Luckily, her older sister came in clutch and gave me a pretty solid list of things that she likes. I can work with this, but I've only got a week. So I decided to make this rug a square. One, because my parents threw away the broken clock I used in the last rug time episode to draw a circle. And two, because I thought it was easier to make and would look better. And man, is it way easier. This was a piece of cake. It was so easy for me to just cut out my monk's cloth and make the outline of the rug. The white lines on my monk's cloth are all 2 inches apart, so I didn't even have to measure things after a certain point. It's great! This is the best! This rug is also one of my original designs, which is cool because in the past I've usually done recreations or adaptations of things for my rugs, so being able to use my full creative judgment was super fun. And plus, I always make the mistake of not mirroring my designs before drawing my rug patterns, and then drawing them on backwards. With this design, I didn't have to worry about that because no way was the wrong way. I punch needle on an 18 by 18 inch gripper frame, which is pretty big, but definitely smaller than the rugs I punch needle. So I have to move my rug on the frame while I'm punching. There's a surprising amount of strategy involved with this, and you actually really do have to be strategic by starting at a place where you'd end up having to move it the least, if that makes sense. I used an Oxford 10 regular size punch needle this time around and doubled up my yarn. The reason we have to do this is because Oxford regular punch needles take bulky yarn. I only had worsted weight yarn on hand, which is used for the Oxford fine punch needles. I started out with the gray ovals, and then punched a section of the black border and background. Punching with a regular sized punch needle is so much fun. It takes way less time, and I can space out my stitches and still have a nice looking rug. Like, I already feel it warding off the carpal tunnel demons. I snipped and poked my rug along the way, which basically entails snipping off your yarn ends and poking the loops around so that they look nice. I recommend doing this as you go because it's just easier and makes your rug look cleaner at the end. And we've arrived at the part of the video where I express my gratitude for color grading. I got started on a section of white, and folks, I'm not exaggerating here. It literally does not show up on the raw footage. It looks like I'm punch needling nothing. It's weird. I was close to punching in the entire section of the rug that I started with. Before I moved it on my frame though, I decided to try out a trick that I had seen before but never tried. Guys, this is like a 5-minute crafts hack, but if 5-minute crafts was actually useful. I punched all the way to the edge of my frame and then didn't cut off my ends of yarn. I just left them there in a tumbleweed mess pile. And I moved my rug on my frame with the pile of yarn on top. Once I repositioned my rug, I literally just re-threaded my needle with the yarn piles and continued punching. Best punch needle hack ever. You don't have to stagger your punch needling like you would do normally. Well, at least not to the same extent. And I guess the only downside is that you have a pile of yarn sitting on your frame, but you could tuck it under your frame cover if it's really bothering you. After moving my rug, I punched my last gray oval and continued working on the white chunk of my rug by outlining the rest of it. And then I continued with punching the black border of my rug. But somewhere along the way here, I forgot that I only had a week to finish this. And once I came to that realization, I started speeding up past a snail's pace. I spent quite a bit of time filling in large sections of black and white to finally finish the bottom half of my rug. I moved my rug again to punch the top part of it. I started by punching the silver line and then continued by outlining this nude colored blob. But at this point, I was running out of time. So I finished punching the rest of the rug offline, but check out these clips of me filling in this copper section. Fun! And even though I finished punching, I was so stressed out because there was still so much more left to do. Like hemming. Because it's hemming time. I feel like I'm going to be doing this every single episode of Rug Time, but I see a lot of people on the TikToks, the Reels, the YouTube Shorts of today's age using glue to hem their rugs. We don't do that here. We hand sew them like the chads we are. But before doing anything, I steam press my rug by getting a wet towel, putting it on the rug, and then ironing it. This helps settle your loops into place, and makes for an overall better looking rug. But please be careful. This won't work with acrylic yarn. I don't want to get any hate comments about how I melted your rug or ruined your chance at happiness. Not for me. Hemming rugs with straight edges is pretty simple. I just do a metered corner. I mark and cut a 2-inch border around my rug, and then mark up and cut 1.5-inch triangles at the corners as well. You don't want your corners to stick up and make your rug bumpy, so that's why you cut them. I then folded the border, pinned it, and ironed it so that it would stay flat and it would make for easier sewing. I should have ironed the corners first, but you don't get it. I was literally speed running this rug, don't judge me. I did a simple whip stitch with frayed strings of monk's cloth, and once I got to a corner, I stitched it together and then took my needle under the cloth and back up to the other side to continue whip stitching. Yes, this takes forever, but don't you want a rug that's gonna last forever? And if it doesn't, you can still repair or replace pieces of? Yeah, you do. Now, most punch needlers would be done after hemming, because the tension in the stitches keeps rugs surprisingly intact. But I like adding more backings to my rugs, because they give rugs a bit more stability, and because they look nice too. So I first backed my rug with wool felt. I cut it out and then blanket stitched it with some knockoff DMC embroidery floss I had lying around. I then cut out some non-slip underlay and used strings of monk's cloth to whip stitch it to my rug. This will make rugs non-slip without the disadvantages that stuff like latex brings. All that was left to do now was to clean up the rug. So I used a sticky roller to clean up large bits of lint on my rug and a battery-powered lint remover to remove any smaller bits of lint and pilling and things like that. And completed in less than a week, here we have it, the finished rug. I kind of popped off with this one. I got the color palette down, and the rug design literally looks like packaging for a fancy perfume. So that's a bonus. If you've made it this far, you are so great for that. While you're here, you should like and subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications as well. I can make anything into a rug, so comment below what I should make next.